Okay, ready for a deep dive, you guys. We're getting into the world of dairy processing technicians.
Dairy processing.
Yeah. It's funny. Most people, they don't exactly think cutting edge career when they think dairy.
Right.
But trust me, there is a whole world churning behind that milk carton we see every day. And to help us unpack it all, we've got expert speaker with us. They've got this background in industrial automation, so I'm really interested to hear their take on things. What do you say, expert speaker? Ready to connect some dots? Some unexpected dots, maybe.
Absolutely. The connections are definitely there, no question. I think people, they often underestimate just how much technology goes into getting that milk, that simple milk, from like the farm to your fridge. It's pretty wild.
Right. It's a whole process, not just cows to carton.
Yeah.
So let's break it down, get into the good stuff. Our handy career guide, Dairy Processing Technician, tells us that these technicians, they're overseeing all these different stages of production, making sure everything's up to snuff, meeting quality standards, keeping those production schedules humming along. They're like, what, the conductors of the dairy processing orchestra?
I love that, the orchestra.
Yeah.
Because it really is. You're totally right. It's about orchestration. It's not just churning out milk, like you said. We're talking managing a whole system, a complex system with so many moving parts. And the scale of it, it's huge. This is dairy we're talking about. It's a staple, a hiccup in production. That's not just a missed deadline. That could mean empty shelves at the store.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I never thought of it like that, about the empty shelves. It's so easy to take for granted that there's always milk there,
Yeah.
just readily available. But wow, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. And it's not just checking temperatures or something. This guide was mentioning that they work directly with, like, food technologists to make new products, make the existing stuff even better, setting those procedures, standards for everything. It's a lot.
Absolutely. It's not just following a recipe, that's for sure. There's a lot of like innovation going on there.
So you need those technical chops, but then also that creative problem solving.
For sure. For sure. And on top of all that, you're often managing teams, training people up, making sure the whole operation is running smoothly.
Okay, so we're talking high stakes, tons of moving parts, and then, oh yeah, you need some serious people skills to top it all off. This is sounding less like milk processing and more like, a job for a superhero.
Right.
But, okay, let's get real for a sec. Day to day, what's it actually like to work as a dairy processing technician? The guide paints a pretty vivid picture of the work environment, and let's just say, I don't think it's all smooth flowing milk and honey, right?
It's definitely, it's dynamic. Let's put it that way.
Dynamic, I like that. It uses words like fast-paced and noisy, talks about potentially working with, get this, hazardous materials even, and then all the safety protocols. It's serious stuff. I'm thinking if someone's looking for a quiet little office job, this might not be the one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not exactly. But for the right person, that environment, it can be really motivating. It's exciting. Think about it. You're on the production floor. The air smells like, well, milk. Machinery's humming. You got to be on your toes. You got to be adaptable. And did I mention the temperatures? We're talking cold, like walk-in refrigerator cold, not just office air conditioning.
So that's where those contrasting skills come in,
Yeah.
right? You have to be comfortable getting your hands dirty, literally, with the physical parts of the job, but then also have that laser focus on the details, on safety, on making sure the quality's top-notch.
100%.
Yeah.
Think about it. 1 minute you're fixing a piece of equipment. The next you're showing a new team member how to do this really precise thing.
Yeah.
You got to have that balance of like practical skills and then just precision.
Yeah.
Almost like a surgeon, actually.
Yeah.
Steady hand, calm under pressure.
This is starting to sound way cooler than I thought, I gotta admit. And this part is where it gets really interesting for me because it ties into your world, expert speaker. So the guide was talking about how advancements in technology, they're playing a huge role in dairy production these days. I mean, we're talking automation, robotics, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People don't always realize, they think dairy, they don't think high tech, but it's there.
Yeah.
We're talking like systems for the packaging, for checking the quality, even for parts of the actual production process itself. So these dairy processing technicians, they can't be afraid of tech. They got to be adaptable to these new systems. They need to know what to do when things go wrong.
So not only do you need those hands-on skills, you've got to be tech savvy too.
It's true. And those are skills that are, I think, becoming even more valuable in the job market, no matter what industry you're in.
Okay, so demanding work, check. Constantly changing environment, check. And a good dose of high tech thrown in there, just for fun, check. Definitely not your average 9 to 5. But say, hypothetically, someone listening is intrigued. This is speaking to them,
Yeah.
Where can this kind of role take them? Is this just a job or is it something more, something with some real potential?
See, and that's what's great about it. It's not a dead end. It's a career path. Different levels, specializations, you name it. The guide was outlining several different career stages, starting with those entry-level positions and going all the way up to like supervisory roles and stuff.
What really stood out to me looking at the guide was how quickly it seems like you can move up. It's not like you're stuck in one spot forever.
Not at all.
For example, even as a junior dairy processing technician, they mentioned assisting in developing new food products. I feel like that's rare to see so early on in someone's career path.
Definitely. And it goes back to what we were seeing before, those technical skills and the problem solving. You got to have both. You demonstrate those early on. And there's definitely room to grow. You're not just a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
You actually get to make an impact.
Okay, now it almost sounds too good to be true. But let's say, our dear listener, they're thinking about dipping their toes into this whole dairy processing world. How do you even begin to navigate that whole job search process? It can be so intimidating, so much competition out there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, where do you even start?
That's where the right tools are essential. It can make all the difference. And there's this one tool I think every job seeker should have in their arsenal. Have you heard of RoleCatcher?
RoleCatcher, it does sound familiar. It's like that friend who always has the inside scoop. But in this case, it's your secret weapon for the whole job market, right? And especially in a field like this where it's not so obvious where to even start.
Exactly. Exactly. And what I love about RoleCatcher is that it's not about finding any job. It's about finding the right job, the one that fits you.
It's not just another job board, right? It's like next level stuff.
Right. It's like having like a career coach and then also like a resume expert and then also an interview prep person
Yeah.
all rolled into one.
Sign me up.
I know, right? They have this incredible feature. I think it's called Career Compass, and it helps you figure out what you're good at, what you enjoy, and how all of that actually translates into different careers. It's like having a roadmap.
Okay, so if you're feeling a bit lost, like wandering through a cheese cave in the dark, RoleCatcher is that flashlight leading you through.
Exactly.
But let's get back to our dairy processing technicians for a minute. We were talking about career stages, and I was really struck by, the level of responsibility they're given, even at those early stages. It's impressive.
And when you think about it, it makes sense, right? I mean, these are the people dealing with these really complex systems, expensive equipment, and let's face it, sometimes those ingredients, they're a bit delicate. You make one wrong move, you could ruin a whole batch of cheese,
Yeah.
and nobody wants that.
No, definitely not. So even as a junior technician, you have to be able to think fast and work well under pressure.
Absolutely. The guide even mentioned things like assisting in troubleshooting production issues, and that was listed as an entry-level responsibility. So yeah, they're looking for people who can spot problems, think critically, come up with solutions, even early on.
And those problem-solving muscles, they only get more important as you move up the ranks, right?
Oh, totally. At the senior level, it's not just about putting out fires. You're talking about fine-tuning the whole system. I was reading in the guide about a senior dairy processing technician. They're responsible for, get this, developing and optimizing production schedules. And then on top of that, implementing and enforcing quality control measures. It's a big job.
That's a lot of responsibility.
You're talking about efficiency, making sure everything's consistent, basically making sure that whole operation runs like, I don't know, a well-oiled machine. Or should I say well-milked?
Okay, well-milked machine it is. I like it. But what about, the people skills we were talking about before? I have a feeling those become even more crucial as you climb that ladder, right?
Absolutely, no question. The guide actually specifically called out management of personal resources as a core skill. You're not just managing machines at that level, you're leading a whole team, training new hires, making sure everyone's motivated and doing their best. That's a whole other ballgame.
Right, so it's that balanced technical know-how, but also those soft skills, being able to communicate, build those relationships, smooth things over when you need to.
Totally. Yeah. And it's not just about working with people. It's about inspiring them, being a mentor, helping them grow in the company, making sure everyone feels that sense of excellence from the bottom to the top.
We always hear, be a lifelong learner, but in this field, it feels like that's not just a suggestion, it's the reality.
Right. The tech is changing so fast, new regulations pop up, and then you've got consumer trends. It's a fast-moving industry. Got to be ready to adapt.
Speaking of adapting, the guide mentions some specific certifications. And these aren't just your run-of-the-mill online courses. These are legit.
Oh, yeah, these are serious credentials. We're talking like HACCP certification. That's all about food safety hazards, right?
Yeah.
And then certifications in dairy science from reputable places.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying you love cheese. You got to prove you're an expert.
I love that. Proof you're an expert. It's like leveling up in a video game or something. Each certification, it's like, bam, new skills unlocked, new possibilities.
Exactly. It shows you're not just keeping up, you're trying to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference to employers. It shows that commitment.
Okay, so we've got, let's see, demanding work, check. Ever-changing dynamic field, check. And on top of that, you get to become a certified dairy expert. This isn't a job, this is an adventure.
It really is. And like any good adventure, it's got its challenges and its rewards for sure.
And speaking of rewards, can we talk about something that makes the whole job hunting thing a little less painful? Because sometimes, let's be honest, it's rough out there.
The job hunt. Oh, tell me about it.
But this is where RoleCatcher comes in, right? To save the day. Remember how we were talking about those algorithms, the ones that filter out your application before a human even sees it? The worst.
The worst.
It makes you want to give up sometimes, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
But RoleCatcher, it's like we can fight back, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like having a secret weapon against those algorithms because it actually like analyzes those job descriptions and figures out what those algorithms are looking for. So it helps you like tailor your resume, make sure you're using the right keywords, highlighting the right skills. You're basically speaking their language.
So it's like a translator for the digital age of job hunting.
Exactly. It's like that backstage pass to this whole world of automated hiring.
I love it. Okay, so it decodes the job descriptions, but it gets even better. Tell me about the practice interview questions, because let's be real, some of those questions, they feel like riddles.
Right. Designed to trip you up.
Exactly.
But with RoleCatcher, you can practice answering questions that are specific to that exact role you want. So you could practice answering like, tell me about your experience with pasteurization. No more awkward silences.
Genius. And with their Copilot AI thing, you can even like record yourself answering and it gives you feedback, right?
Yeah.
It's like having an interview coach in your pocket.
It helps you get rid of those nervous habits. No more rambling.
Okay, I am sold. This is a game changer for anyone even thinking about a job search. And the best part, you don't have to be some tech genius to use it, right?
Not at all. It's super user-friendly. Anyone can use it, no matter what your tech skills are.
This is way beyond just a job board. This is like having a whole career assistant in your pocket. So listeners, if you're ready to ditch those generic sites and like step into the future of job hunting, check out RoleCatcher. You won't regret it.
It's a win-win. Job seekers get a leg up, employers find those awesome candidates. It's great.
Okay, speaking of awesome candidates, let's circle back to our dairy processing technicians one last time. We have covered a lot of ground here.
We have. From what it takes to do the job, to the skills you need, what the career path looks like, even how tech is changing things, it's been quite a ride.
And we've only just scratched the surface. I think it's safe to say dairy processing, way more complex and honestly fascinating than people realize. But there's one last layer to this cheese ball we gotta unwrap.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. The future of dairy.
You got it. We talked about those plant-based alternatives, but we didn't really get into what that means for the whole industry. And I feel like for someone considering a career in this, that's a pretty big question mark, you know?
Huge, creamy question mark.
Exactly. So for all you listeners out there who are now maybe dreaming of becoming cheese connoisseurs or, I don't know, milk magicians,
Milk magicians. Love it.
stay tuned because when we come back, we're tackling that very question. What are those challenges, those opportunities coming up for the dairy industry? What does it all mean for our aspiring dairy processing technicians? Find out next time. All right, deep divers, welcome back. We're wrapping things up with our look at the dairy processing world, but you know me, I love a good plot twist. Expert speaker, we were last left with this whole idea of plant-based alternatives shaking things up in the dairy aisle. So is this it? Is this the big dairy showdown?
Oh, definitely a plot twist. But, you know, instead of a showdown, I'm thinking we're going to see an evolution. You know, things are changing. People are buying different stuff. And the dairy industry, it's got to adapt, right? Just like anything else.
Okay, so more of a makeover montage than like a fight scene. I can get behind that. But seriously, what does that actually look like?
Well, let's think about it. More and more people are all about that almond milk in their coffee or maybe cashew cheese on their veggie burger. That's not going away.
Tell me about it. I'm all about a good oat milk latte. So you're saying smart move is to adapt, not ignore.
Exactly. And some companies, they're already doing it. They're coming out with their own plant-based stuff, expanding those product lines, meeting people where they are.
So less about competition, more about like expanding the menu, right? Giving people options.
100%.
Yeah.
Like your favorite restaurant adds a whole new plant-based section to the menu. You still get your go-tos, but hey, now you got choices.
Delicious analogy. Okay, but what does this mean for all those aspiring dairy processing technicians out there? Do they have to go back to school and become like oat milk experts or something?
That's where things get even more interesting. There are similarities between dairy processing and the plant-based stuff, but there are some pretty big differences too. Different ingredients, different equipment, different textures even. Challenges are different.
So those problem-solving skills we talked about, even more important now.
Oh yeah, a dairy processing technician who's ready to learn new tech, figure out new processes, embrace those new ways of doing things, they're going to be in high demand. It's that lifelong learner thing again. Got to be curious.
And the certifications we were geeking out about earlier, those could be even more valuable now too, right?
Totally. You're not just stuck in your ways. You've got the paperwork to prove it. You're a master of the dairy domain. And maybe the plant-based one too.
It's like having a superpower. You walk into an interview, resume practically glows in the dark. So, any listeners feeling a little, I don't know, overwhelmed by all this change, what's the one thing to remember?
Don't be scared to just go for it. The future of dairy might look different than we thought, but that's not a bad thing. It's exciting. Be a part of something new.
Beautifully said. Who knows, maybe one of our listeners will invent the next big thing. Cheese that melts perfectly every time. Oat milk latte that's even better than the, real thing. Sky's the limit.
The possibilities are definitely endless.
It has been a pleasure, expert speaker. Thanks for diving into the world of dairy processing with me.
Anytime.
Listeners, whether you're team dairy or team plant-based, there's a place for you in this world. That's all for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.